From the Sunflower Shop, this is the Healthy Approach Podcast. I'm Bryan Bradford. As we age, many men experience changes in their sexual performance. We are then offered the blue pill or the use of testosterone to help us overcome these changes. Although this approach works for some, it does not address the foundation of why men have problems. The good news is that more and more men are shifting to non-drug remedies, and that is what today's conversation is all about. Joining me today is Randy Miles from Bluebonnet Supplement Company, and he's going to share some herbal remedies that are getting a standing ovation. Welcome to the show, Randy.
Hello. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, thanks for being back. We want to talk about today is your new product line by Bluebonnet called Intimate Essentials. But I want to start with the science of aging. What's the common thread between aging and sexual health?
Well, basically when you start looking at health, you start looking at aging, all those things, it's all relative to age. Age goes up, other things, happen. Testosterone goes down, estrogen goes down. So you start seeing other issues, muscle tone, bone density, so on and so forth. It's just part of the process. We don't last forever and we break down a little bit. And obviously that's really where that process goes. And when you talk about men specifically, it's testosterone that really is what drives us, but also as that starts to decrease, then you kind of start seeing all the other things that are involved in that, with loss of muscle tone, more carrying around more fat, lack of focus, libido, erectile issues, you name it. But it's not all depth and despair. There's an aging process, but there's ways to actually improve lots of different things. You just have to take care of yourself and look at it as a balance and well-being across, from diet to exercise to supplementation.
Well, let's talk about that. So, I want to focus in on libido and erectile dysfunctions for men. If they go to the doctor, what's the doctor going to do for them?
The doctor, the first thing is, they're analytical. They're gonna use actually a questionnaire. It's called the ADAM questionnaire, along with blood work. And it's pretty straightforward. It's 10 questions. And if you answer 3 or more, you'll probably be looking at, low testosterone, also known as andropause.
And quickly describe what andropause actually is.
So andropause, really what you're looking at there is you're looking at the decrease of testosterone, number one. That's the biggest one. You start seeing less muscle tissue. You're accumulating more fat. You're not responding to stress as well. You have more mood changes. That's really the big thing that you start seeing. And the questionnaire kind of follows it really well, energy, so on and so forth.
So let's talk about a few of those questions that's on the questionnaire that the doctors would initially ask.
Yeah, and this, you go to a testosterone center. This is the first thing they're going to, before they even do blood work, they're going to give you this.
All right, men. So listen up. I want you to hear what the questions are, so we can go ahead and answer these.
So decrease in libido, sex drive, decrease in strength or endurance, loss of height. It's a nice one there. Enjoyment of life, kind of your overall how you look at that. Sad, grumpy, erection. Noticed deterioration in ability to play sports. Falling asleep after dinner, after that food, and work performance. And if you're affected by any of those, for instance, the first one, libido, or the seventh one, are you having, less strong erections, basically? Boom, there's your first telltale sign right there. Mm-hmm. And if you're saying yes to more than 3 of these, it's very likely that's you're seeing that andropause, you're seeing that lower testosterone. And about 25, 30 years old, we're going to start losing about 1.5% every single year for every single age. So 10 years, you're now hitting 40s, 10% less, 50, 60, so on and so forth.
And if you're a couch potato and don't move around or exercise, it could be more than that.
Even faster, even up to 1.5% a year, actually.
Would you say that's why we're seeing andropause even at younger ages now?
Yep, exactly right. That'd be a great assessment. I don't know what literature is out there, but I'm sure that someone has looked at something like that. Less active, you're not going to move those big muscle groups around. That's where we hold all our testosterone. And that happens, you're not going to have that free testosterone floating around your system.
So that's where we hold it. But where do we make our testosterone at? A lot of men don't know this.
Okay, you make your testosterone in your testes. Pretty straightforward. Hence the name. Obviously, if it goes into our bloodstream, there's a whole nother story behind that, though.
That's right.
Free testosterone, albumin bind, not available. The key is free testosterone.
And that's why it's important for men to get really their total testosterone checked as well as their free testosterone. You need to see both sides of that because they both have different meanings, right?
Yep. And here's the bad part. The older you get, the less free testosterone is available because it's bound up.
That's right.
It's still there, but you can't get to it.
And why is that?
It's actually, they'll show that, okay, testosterone starts going down. So now there's something called like a sex binding hormone. Well, it starts getting bound up more. Now your body starts making more of that. It's kind of, okay, since you're not using as much testosterone, we're also going to kind of bind up some of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're not having enough, and it's kind of, your body's responding. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's actually kind of the process.
So what you're saying is that we it's possible for men to have enough testosterone, but they can't use it because it's bound up by the sex hormone binding globulin.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sense.
Your body's been taught, or it's learned to not have as much available,
Mm-hmm.
which is, you know, unfortunate, but there's ways around that, obviously.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Which we'll talk a little bit of how we can make that better here soon, I'm sure. So they go in and see the doctor. They go through this questionnaire. What does the medical system have to offer them after that?
It kind of the typical approach, you know, fix a problem, not look at the problem.
Good point.
And so now we're, okay, you're having erectile issues. Great. We have a blue pill for that. Okay. So you take it, so on and so forth. And that's it. No one ever explains, what does it do? No one explains, hey, is there other ways to focus on this? Is there other ways to deal with this? It's like, no, just give me a magic pill and I'll be fine. Versus, hey, what can I do long term so I don't have to do that?
That's right.
And Viagra is a perfect example. Cialis is also, and it increases nitric oxide.
Wow.
Nitric oxide relaxes those smooth muscles, which helps more blood flow.
More vasodilation.
More vasodilation. I mean, it's that simple what it does.
Mm-hmm.
And
so if more men understood that sort of a vasodilation problem, they can understand why there's other natural therapies out there that can actually do a lot of the same things.
Exactly right.
That's
There's
right.
things out there that are specifically and clinically have actually been shown to do that, and also raise testosterone, and also increase sex drive, and also increase rigidity, so on and so forth. And that, I guess, you know, that'll transition me to one of the first things that is newer science, and that's Tonka Ali, which is
Tomcat Ali.
Tomcat Ali, right?
It's a crazy name.
Yeah, it is. I just usually go with LJ100.
That's a little bit easier to pronounce.
Long Jack, yeah. And so specifically when we're doing these formulations, we looked at that because it has a lot of clinicals behind it. And I want to read you something here, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And so Long Jack 100 is a safe, unique, standardized, patented, rigorously science proven proprietary nutraceutical. It is the only one protected, the specific one, by a worldwide patent for sexual dysfunction, increased testosterone, and male fertility.
So there's a patent on this herb, this plant out there.
There's a patent on this herb, and literally they have over 13 clinical trials to show increasing testosterone, so on and so forth. And that was done by MIT and the government of Malaysia.
That is huge.
So, and we hear the word MIT, we know exactly that's the cream of the crop. And for them to study this and learn it tells you a whole lot of, I mean, that's a lot of backing behind it.
That's right, exactly. So tell me then, what does Tomcat Ali do for you?
Yeah. So obviously the very first thing, it helps significantly increase testosterone production, which is directly related to libido, directly related with desire, and so on and so forth. Also, it's going to help increase endurance, muscle tone, metabolism. Women actually can take Long Jack because it actually helps them with endurance and sports performance.
Wow.
Another cool thing that it does, it increases pheromones, and in men specifically. So now you're releasing more of those exo hormones. We're like, hey, pay attention to me. And you're putting that vibe out there. You're putting that smell out there. And obviously we know that women are attracted to certain smells, certain men for that reason. And that specifically is shown to do that.
Very interesting.
So it's helping you get your signal out there. It's like, hey, I'm available.
But more importantly, it's patented, as far as helping to boost testosterone naturally.
Exactly right.
Are there any side effects associated to it?
Actually, great question. Right now, there's none.
Okay.
They have no precautions. They have no interactions. They don't think it has any kind of indications with medication. Now, obviously, you're always going to throw in the doc always throws in there, be healthy enough for sexual health. They always are going to throw that in there. But as far as that, there's no issues.
So we don't have to be careful with someone like with high blood pressure, like you do with some herbs out there that are promoted for libido issues.
Not a stimulant.
That's right.
And that's super important too.
Awesome. It's pretty amazing. He's got his own patent, I have to say. You don't see that very often.
Yeah,
in our industry at least.
In fact, I've got pages of all the studies, and anywhere from how was my athletic performance, how did it get better, or rigidity. That's obviously something that's important too, which kind of like will segue me into another ingredient. It's She-Legit, which I know sounds kind of funny.
Yeah, it's one of those names you got to say kind of real fast or real slow.
Yeah, or you just look at it twice.
That's right.
Obviously, it has a pro-testosterone kind of feel to it or whatever, but what's really important is that it has a lot of minerals in it, and it's really nutrient dense. It has fulvic acid, so on and so forth. What's important is a lot of minerals, and this is something that I tell men all the time, because they'll come in. It's like, hey, what do you have for sexual function, so on and so forth. First question I ask them is, how much water do you drink? And they kind of look at me. He's like, well, I drink lots of tea or coffee, whatever. And it's like, I'll tell you right now, there is a direct correlation with how hydrated your skin is and how hydrated you are and how well you're going to perform. It is an absolute, I mean,
totally agree.
You can't have one without the other.
That's right.
And so I always focus on that, because they'll look at me and like, I never thought about that.
And hydration's more than just water. It's minerals too.
That's where the minerals come into play.
That's right.
So I drink water all day. Well, that's great. Doesn't mean you're hydrated. You have to have the minerals. Things have to come in, things have to come out. So that's why I like that that's built into this formula. You're also addressing, hey, you need to drink lots of water. Even with like your prescriptions, they'll tell you, you have to drink a ton of water. Don't refrain from alcohol, because it's a diuretic and it won't work.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing in this world too.
Now, what product exactly are you talking about with?
Actually, I'm talking about the 4-Him.
4-Him.
Yeah,
okay.
On the Intimate Essentials 4-Him, but also we have the Long Jack 100 by itself for additional support. We have 100 milligrams in our formula, but also we have it separately where you can add additional. And that's actually where some of the dosaging is involved too. The recommended dose is about 100 milligrams a day. You can go up to 600 milligrams a day.
Wow.
And I mention that because that's based like on a 150-pound person, like all supplements are. It's like, you got someone 6'4", 300 pounds. You're not a one a day. You're a 2 one a days, because you're just more person. You don't need 2,000 calories. You have to change it and dosage it correctly. Just like a prescription, you'd have to do that also.
So is there a best time to take it?
Yeah, you're going to be taking it during the day. Not primarily for any other reason. You want to stimulate that testosterone production. I worry about telling people to take it at night, because
What's that?
Because you are raising testosterone, you are raising endurance, energy, and so on and so forth. Is that really the time? No, it's really during the day. We make our hormones at night, yes, but the great thing about herbs is that they stay in your system for a minute. And so you're still going to be going down that path. And that
makes sense.
And that's important. And, we're talking about nitric oxide, how the Viagra's and vasodilator, all that.
That's right.
And arginine, obviously, we know in our industry, it helps increase nitric oxide production. So does beet juice.
It does.
Those are great, which is high in arginine, of course. And so arginine, they actually are recommendations. You can go up to 5 grams a day of arginine.
5 grams?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That's pretty high dosage.
So 5 grams a day basically substantially improved sexual function with men with erectile issues.
Yeah.
And that actually leads me into a product called Nitro that you guys have here at the store.
We got a lot of great comments on, for sure.
Yeah, it's nitrosogenes, which is a funny name for it, but all you need to know is that this does have a human clinical trial on it, which is really neat. And instead of your traditional arginine of being like 90 minutes in your system, this actually has 3 hours.
3 hours. That is awesome.
So twice as long to increase nitric oxide, which is great for endurance, performance, so on and so forth.
Circulation, cold hands, cold feet, a lot of good reasons for it.
But the reason this won product of the year was because it specifically raises baseline nitric oxide. So now your body is making more nitric oxide, which is helping what? The problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're not talking about, hey, right now, okay, now's good, but what about later? We're talking about, hey, all the time.
So do you have people take the Nitro with the 4-Him product?
Yeah, I usually tell people to do multiple avenues. I look at the 4-Him as your starting baseline.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in there has some great backing clinicals. It's a great place to start, but it might not be enough for everybody. You might need to add an extra little bit of Lonjac. Go ahead and add a little bit of arginine or nitrosogene. And as men, I know we'll sometimes go like, oh, we don't need any help, but we all know we're lying. Whereas like, you know what? If I can take extra stuff and it helps,
That's right.
I'm going to take it.
Exactly. Because that would also help with motivation, desire, and drive for a lot of men.
Work performance too.
Exactly. So you're hitting really multiple different areas of the circulation system or cardiovascular part of it with the nitro. You got your herbs and tonkat to really help that testosterone boost.
Mm-hmm.
You're just hitting it from different angles, and that's where a lot of pens have a problem with because they think the blue pill is just going to help with it, and that's it. And that's really not solving any real problem.
No.
And so what you're talking about is actually addressing a lot of the issues of why we have problems in the first place.
Exactly right. And then one other one that I'll point out too is boron, which is a trace mineral. And people don't really think boron for anything other than a bone support, but this will blow you away. And this I never knew, and just till recently. So 10 milligrams of boron per day, 7 days in a row, increased testosterone 28%, decreased estrogen 39%, and increased DHT, which is stronger testosterone, by 10%.
Wow.
In a week.
Wow.
Boron alone. And we
That's
use the
amazing.
10 milligrams in the 4-HIMS formula.
So it's in the formula already.
It's in the formula.
That's why y'all hitting it from all angles. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's kind of one of those like, why don't I take it?
Exactly. Hey, you also brought up something interesting the other day too about NSAIDs.
About what?
About the NSAID medications and what it does for people with problems.
Yeah. So that actually, we're talking about, problems with like a Viagra and those issues, obviously short term, whatever other problems and all that. But your ibuprofen, actually specifically,
which a lot of people are taking, especially as we age, joint problems and all kinds of pain issues. So
right.
I see a lot of men who are taking ibuprofen, but what you told me about it was very interesting.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm taking some ibuprofen. I'm used to taking it, and it prevents the production of testosterone.
That's amazing.
Study back in May of 2019 specifically.
See, that's very interesting.
And if you're talking fertility also, if you're working on trying to start a family, it also disrupts your semen quality and your motility and your sperm. So it's causing other problems too. It's not this casual thing you take over the counter.
That's right.
Yeah, sometimes we need those things.
Sure.
But if someone's living off these things or they're taking them constantly, again, let's just fix just one thing.
That's right.
You're still not helping yourself out. And it's only going to get worse. So that's why it's better to focus on what's my long-term play here. Do I start doing something now where I'm actually taking care of myself and I won't have to worry about taking a little blue pill?
That's right.
I can actually get my body to do what's supposed to anyways.
Naturally.
Exactly.
That's why
right.
I love being more or less side effects associated with it.
Yep.
Well, you started the conversation about how sometimes our testosterone gets bound up by that sex hormone globulin. Let's talk about how to free that testosterone a little bit better. And I know a big organ that plays a big part in this is the liver. So you've got an awesome product called Liver Detox?
Yeah, Liver Detox.
Great product.
That's kind of my go-to standard there. You're talking about 80% of your detox. It's your filter. It does detox. It helps break down hormones. It gets things out of there that's not supposed to be there. And yeah, exactly right. So when your liver is processing and breaking down those hormones that are bound up, and where your other organs involved, then now they're getting more testosterone that's able to be utilized by your system. Start working out more, your body craves more. Start thinking more, start having higher endurance, start, stimulating yourself, mentally, you start seeing more of that. Your body will respond and make that more available for you.
It's incredible.
Yeah. The body listens.
It does. If you just give it what it needs.
Yep.
So it's important. So I like the same way with you. I like putting that liver detox, especially with anybody with poor sexual health or trying to improve it, because the liver does so much for you in trying to help that testosterone start to come back up. So I could see someone taking the liver detox, the nitro for the vasodilation, and then your awesome 4-HIM product that just came up with. It's amazing, triple stack right there to really get things going.
I usually kind of look at it that way. I look at it as a triangle, and you hit it from 3 different, avenues there, instead of like, okay, just one approach. And because there's so many, obviously there's a lot of clinical backing on here and all that. So by doing it multiple different ways, that's great. Just like if you're going to eat better, You're going to work out. You're not just going to just eat better, not work out. You're going to
That's right.
start trying to do all different facets. And the last one is trying to de-stress, trying to control those hormones, the cortisols. Long Jack, again, specifically also addresses cortisol
Wow,
production.
stress response. I like
Yeah.
that.
So you're decreasing estrogen, you're increasing testosterone, you're increasing performance, you're taking care of the stress, the mental part of it too. And so you're hitting it from lots of different angles. And
To
again,
me, that's the
pulling
best
back.
way. The best approach is
Yeah.
hitting from multiple different angles. You've got maca sitting on the table up here too.
Yeah.
How's that help with men?
So maca is just kind of it's one of those herbs that has the aphrodisiac kind of backing to it, and when we started looking for a maca, we said, okay, who do we go to? And obviously Ayurveda is the master of maca, I guess you could say, and we follow the same processes that they do. We actually gelatinize it, so we take all the starches out, and so it's a lot easier to digest in your system. But maca specifically is going to help increase testosterone and virility and well-being. And so it's another one of those herbals that are nutrient dense that's going to add that extra little bit more. Men and women can take it too. So it's, again, another one of those bullets to have,
Yeah.
to add on to.
Well, awesome, Randy. That's great information. So really, I mean, looking at your Bluebonnet products, that for him is definitely an awesome product to start with. As you said, the baseline.
Yeah.
And since if we need that extra vasodilation or blood flow, especially for ED or something, then definitely the nitro or your arginine beet type products. And then liver detox to help flush out those extra estrogens and get rid of some other negative things that can happen, break up that bound testosterone to help us utilize it more efficiently.
Right. And, this is not just for, a younger person or older person. Really, this is for any man, really. I mean, you're talking about things that are going to help you with your testosterone production, everything else. And, also our Achilles heel is prostate, and this is addressed here in this formula also with the zinc, obviously, but also with saw palmetto. Mm-hmm. You have less pressure on the prostate, less inflammation, then you have better blood flow. And so one of the side parts of that is you're more rigid.
That's right.
And so the saw palmetto being in there is also a nice addition to see long-term too, because once you have some kind of prostatitis, you're going to see a substantial increase in the likelihood of having erectile issues.
That's right.
And
There's a blood
so
flow.
here we are, preventative. Hey, let's keep that prostate healthy.
Address the issues now, exactly. So it's
Yeah.
good for anybody to take, whether you really have issues or not, right?
Exactly right.
So you see some benefits all the way across the board. Well, Randy, you're awesome, man. Thanks for being here today.
Appreciate it. I love doing it.
Well, great. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Healthy Approach Podcast. Be sure to check the show notes for a special offer and subscribe if you like this podcast. You can help us spread the word by rating and sharing with your friends and family. If you'd like to learn more about ways to improve your sexual health, go to sunflowershoppe.com. That's shop with 2 P's and an E, or visit us at one of our 3 locations in the DFW area.